Hello, my friends. Welcome to Keswick Chapel The Chew. This is day 2 of week 21. Again, we're looking at a passage from Mark chapter 4, verses 1 through 20, and we're looking at the way of Jesus requires sowing. Well, today we're going to look at what happens to some of the seed that is sown. Jesus uses this parable, and in verse 4, he's talking about the farmer casting the seed. And some of the seed falls on the hard path, and the birds come along and they pick up the seed and they take it away. Well, how does this apply to Satan? Well, Satan comes along and he steals the word before it can take root and before it can be planted in good soil. So he comes along and he takes that word. And how does he do that? Well, there's several methods. The first is that he is a deceiver. All you have to do is look back at Genesis chapter 3, and you'll see that he deceives Eve and Adam. He was there with her, but he says to Eve that you will not surely die. And of course, that was not the truth that we know it to be. Adam and Eve did die. What was the death that they suffered? The same death that we all suffer when we're born into this world, separated from God. We have a spiritual death, and that's what took place for Adam and Eve when they disobeyed God. They became spiritually dead, and we inherited that spiritual death. So he's a deceiver. He deceived her into believing something that wasn't true. What else does he do? He lies. In John chapter 8, verse 44, no truth is in him. When he lies, he speaks his native language. So Satan is a liar. He's a deceiver and a liar. He blinds. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 4 says, the God of this age has blinded the minds of unbelievers. So he does everything he can to keep unbelievers from seeing and hearing the truth. So he blinds. He masquerades. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 13 through 15. Deceitful workmen masquerading as apostles of Christ. And then he's a tempter. Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 through 11. You'll know the story well when you go and you read this passage. This is where Jesus had been fasting in the wilderness for 40 days and for 40 nights. And at the end of that fasting, who comes in but Satan? And what's he coming in for? He's coming in to tempt Jesus to misuse his power and authority. So he's a tempter. What else does he do? He fights, especially with spiritual leaders. 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 17 through 18, Paul's writing that we wanted to come to you. We tried, but Satan stopped us. So if you're doing God's will, if you are spreading the gospel of Christ, if you are a spiritual leader, you will be in a fight. Count on it. Satan accuses us. He accuses the brethren. Revelation chapter 12, verse 10 says that he is the accuser of our brothers, and he accuses us before God. Read Job. In Job chapter 1, verse 11, he talks about Job not being who God believes him to be and who God knows him to be. I encourage you to read that book. So how do we respond to these deceptions and these strategies? Let's go to Ephesians chapter 6, verses 10 through 18, where we put on the full armor of God so that we may stand against the devil's schemes. So we find ourselves in a fight, my friends, with the devil, where our fight is in the spiritual, in the heavenly realms, and it's a spiritual battle. It's not a physical battle. So we must take care to put on the armor of God, which is the belt of truth, the breastplate of righteousness, feet that are fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace, the shield of faith, the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit. And once we've got on the full armor of God and we are prepared to do battle, remember I said we do battle in the heavenly realms, then we are to pray. And we are to pray especially for our spiritual leaders and for anyone who is involved in spreading the gospel of Christ. And we are to be alert at all times, looking for these schemes, being prepared. So let me ask you this. Are you following the way of Christ, or are you following your own way? Remember, the way of Jesus leads to life everlasting. I pray that you'll have eyes to see and ears to hear His truth today in all of these passages that I've shared with you this morning. And I pray that you'll ask the Holy Spirit to give you a receptive heart and mind to receive these truths, and then the boldness of Christ to take the action that you need to take today. So ask yourself this question: Lord, what do I need to learn today? What do I need to take action on today? And I promise you, He will show you what you need to do. I pray you'll have a wonderful day, my friends. Go in the peace of God. Blessings to you. Bye for now.